What is up, everybody? You're listening to the unfiltered, unscripted, 100% authentic. I'm your host, Michael, and guess what? We got ourselves a show this today. It is a Tuesday. If you're listening live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter, I'm going to do my best to get your comments. I can't promise that I will. However, this is probably going to be the last show that you see the actual layout. We are getting new layout indeed, a new intro and intro songs, outro songs, whatever may be coming your way. It's coming towards you. But without further ado, I have a fun show ahead of us. We'll be talking some WWE. Yeah, that's right. We can talk some wrestling. WWE, baseball. What in the world is going on with the Yankees? Buy or sell for the Yankees in the Bronx. We got some SEC Media Day, Alabama football, college football, just in general. We got so much to talk about, but without further ado, let me introduce to you my good friend, Big Mike, Mr. Mike Mccarty. What's up, Big
What's
Mike?
going on? What's going on, everybody? Glad to be here for I guess would now be the historic Air Raid podcast with the last of the original intro and everything like that. For you unroll the new one. Hopefully, we saved the best for last on this.
That is the goal. And for all your listeners, hopefully the new layout kicks in. It should be in ready to go for Thursday's episode with Miss Lacey, the host of the up and coming podcast, Laced Up, the Texas Longhorn fan. But we'll talk about that another time. But first things first, Big Mike, we got some fans already in the chat room. Mr. Raj from the Herman Raj podcast himself. Evening, sir. Good evening, Mr. Raj.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Always
And
good to have you.
we got, I'm sure this is going to be Herb. Is the world ready for Mike and Mike together?
I don't know if Mike is Mike. If we're ready for Mike and Mike together, we'll have to see.
And Raj, we only recognize one hat in the SEC, and Big Mike is wearing it.
Yes, sir. Roll Tide.
Raj, I'm going to say this. Wait till next year. You'll have two hats that you'll be recognizing, hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the Texas podcast, Lacey, that you're going to have on with us playing them next year. I'm excited to hear what she has to say, especially after Big 12 Media Days last week. I know we've got SEC coming up this week, and some of the comments made by those guys. I'd like to hear your comments as well, but I'd like to hear her thoughts on some of the slander from Texas and OU from the commissioner and all that.
Yeah, it's, I don't know how much you've been following. I don't know how much you follow the Big 12, Mike, but I will say one thing. Thursday's episode is going to be really, really fun simply because obviously Texas fans, OU fans, we don't like each other. Last year was my first ever OU Texas game experience, and, well, that didn't end well at all. We didn't even score a single point. And that was the first time in history. But not only that, but here we are going to the SEC. And I'm going to start off with this. Mike, from an Alabama fan, obviously in the SEC, what are your thoughts on Oklahoma and Texas, two historic teams with a lot of history, a lot of pride, a lot of winning for the most part for both teams? But, you got two of the best teams, in my opinion, regardless of how their years have been the last 5 years or so. I know Texas hasn't really been back like they say they are. But what's your thoughts on Oklahoma and Texas headed to the SEC in 24?
Man, I'm excited for it, man. And the more competition, the better. Anything that's going to make the SEC better as a whole is going to make Alabama better as a whole. It gives us a whole new footprint to recruit in. Recruiting, everybody knows it's not as regional as it used to be back in the day. But I mean, having those markets, especially in Texas, where gosh, there's probably a billion players in Texas that we can go hopefully recruit better. I mean, I saw the announcement yesterday that we're going to have media days in Dallas next year, kind of a, stick it to the Big 12. Hey, we're coming to your backyard kind of thing. But, anytime we can go in and recruit better players and make the team and the conference better, I'm all for it, man. The better competition, the better it is.
Well, I'm with you on that. And I got a lot of slack. And Coach I, the host of the Fan Addict podcast, had me on the show, and we're doing the second one again this year for Oklahoma preview. And last year, I was a part of the OU preview show, and he actually got a lot of slack, a lot of haters from OU about my prediction about Oklahoma being 8-4. Now we didn't finish 8-4. We actually finished a whole lot worse than 8-4, 6-7, our first losing season since '98. But in the first, I'm sure that was probably the last time we actually lost 7 games. But we'll get to that comment in a second. But we get a lot of slack. But this year, my thing is this for Oklahoma. Obviously, yeah, I would like to go out for Oklahoma to finish out on top and to win Big 12 for the 15th time in this century. But that'd be nice to go put our hats on. But my thing is this to the Sooner Nation, and then you surprisingly, Mike. Here's the deal: you would be surprised how mixed reaction we got down here in Norman, simply because of the schedule. Okay, yeah, you can sit there and say, "Well, we got the short end of the stick. We got LSU, we got Auburn, we got Alabama, we got woo woo woo." Okay, tell me one team besides that doesn't start with a V that is actually going to be a good game. The rest of the 15 team or 14 teams, you're going to have a good game. You're going to get luck. You're going to get one with one that you just, it starts with a V, ends with built. You just can't, Vanderbilt's not going to be upset. It's going to upset Oklahoma. Excuse me. But from my standpoint, I'd rather see Alabama and Norman, which we will in 24. I'd rather see Alabama and Norman than Kansas. I'd rather see, especially Kansas State, even though they got our number, but especially Kansas State, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Baylor. I mean, come on now, BYU, Central. I'd rather see LSU, Auburn, and But anyway, I get that they're mixed emotions. I love it. I agree with what you said, Mike. Is better competition, and now it's with the big boys. I mean, now we're going to see where OU stands. We're going to see where Texas stands. I'm curious about Texas. I really am. Um, they Herb says they moved media day now to be closer to Raj.
Well,
Hey,
they knew the following would show up. They knew the Herman Rides podcast would show up in force, and they may not have enough media credentials for next year.
no, and I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to do my very best. I don't know how far in advance you can request media credentials, and I don't know what the requirements are. Hopefully, the podcast really picks up steam, and maybe I'm gonna get Herb and Raj, if you're both still listening, and Mike, I'm gonna include you as well. I'm gonna try to get us some media credentials because this Big 12. Here I am again. That's just because they're in Dallas.
Um,
The the SEC media day next year is going to be insane.
oh yeah, definitely being like I said, right there in the heart of Big 12 country. They're going to try to show out. They've got a lot of cool stuff in Nashville. I mean, I even saw. They've got the stoplights and it says SEC on the stoplights. It's kind of cool. A lot of big stuff going on, just like you do at every media
Mm-hmm.
days. But next year, Greg Sankey and the SEC are going to go above and beyond what they normally would do, I think, just to say, hey, look what we did, look what we got. We're in your backyard, and there's nothing you can do about it. We're going to show that we're better than you. And to really kind of go back to your point a second ago, there's a reason why the SEC got picked up by ESPN. That's getting these huge media deals because we're the conference as a whole, and Alabama especially is usually one of those higher games in the market every year. But I mean, the competition it's just better on TV.
Yeah.
How many people watch not to spend anything about Oklahoma, but like Kansas, Oklahoma. How many people really watch that outside of Kansas and Oklahoma,
Exactly.
other than watching Oklahoma? Nobody watches Kansas. But
No.
even if it's like Ole Miss or LSU, South Carolina now, I mean, all those games, and that may just be because I'm in the Southeast and I don't see the rest of it. Those are marquee games still. You can't take that week off like you could, against other teams and other conferences.
Well, no, absolutely, and the big thing for Oklahoma, we're obviously going to spend all. I could literally talk college football all day.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could
Uh,
spend the whole hour.
yeah, exactly.
More.
Um, my thing is this: I rather, here we are again. And Herb, I'm gonna get to your question in a second because I actually am going to sort of argue that, but and here's why. I'm gonna give you a second. Um, but here's the deal.
Or starting an argument. That's
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
he's going in today. This is a different kind of Herb I'm seeing here. No, I love it. But with Oklahoma, it's always the 11 a kickoffs. I don't know unless you get the non-conference schedule next year, which I know we got Arkansas State or not Arkansas State. I know we got Tulane and I'll pull up here real quick. I know like in Michigan, for example, is coming to Norman in the 25, which hopefully they still keep that one. Cause I know I got a lot of Michigan Michigan fans out there listening. But anyway, so yeah, don't mention Michigan OU fans on Twitter. By the way, Mike, don't ever do that.
I
I'm a heathen to them. Temple and Tulane next year. Okay, so I mean, again, 11 a.m. kickoffs. Probably at least one of those will probably be a 2 a.m. or 2 a.m. Lord Jesus, a 11 a.m. kick. 2 a.m. I'm definitely not watching. 11 a.m.
You're out
kickoff.
there on the West Coast in Hawaii.
Exactly. 11 a.m. kickoff. I mean, you might get one and probably both. But I'm looking through it. Texas obviously won't be. Might still be stuck with that 2:30 time slot, but it could be an easily 11 a.m. kickoff. It won't ever be a night game, folks, because the area that it's surrounded by is horrible. I know that for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. Well,
That area
plus
is
they want to get that, and that's the thing about college football. You say the 2:30 game, 2:30 really is a prime time game for college football. It's kind of the same with NFL. That 12:30, 1 o'clock, time slot is they consider that a partial like a prime time. And maybe CBS kind of built that from back in the day where that they put the marquee game on there every week. But that's become you know prime viewing for college football fans is that 2:30 time slot on ESPN, which I think is 3 actually. I don't
yep.
think it's 2:30, but that slot, I wouldn't call that a downgrade by any means. That's actually big time games for college football.
No, absolutely. And I think, it used to be growing up, I'm 35, I'm still young to an extent. Body doesn't feel
You
30,
are.
yeah, young age wise, I'm young. Body says, nah, some days, some not so much. But, I'm looking at the schedule for next year at Auburn, at LSU, at Missouri, Alabama, which I can almost guarantee you that's going to be a night game. South Carolina, which I really hope Spencer Rattler stays. Which I hope he does because of that game. Tennessee and that Ole Miss, and of course Texas and Dallas. There's not a single 11 a.m. kickoff I don't see on that thing, and that's why and people have to realize there's one thing that comes to mind that while the OU left in Texas, why they both left for the SEC. It's money, better conference, better competition, and it's easier. Well, it's going to be better. It's going to be, I shouldn't say easier to recruit, but you're going to have a better chance of recruiting better players than you would have if you continued to stay in the Big 12.
Yeah, you're widening your footprint. You're
Exactly.
bringing in talent from Georgia, Florida, Alabama, not quite as much. I mean, I know we've run college football, obviously, Roll Tide, but I mean, we're not the hotbed of talent that Florida, Georgia, Texas, even Louisiana is. That's why when Saban came on, he started recruiting more nationally. That's when we started rising back up. Where we could go get people in other places. So you guys coming over and again, it's not as regional as it used to be, like I said before, but having more of a presence, being in Florida every couple of years, playing Florida, being in Georgia, playing them every couple of years. I know they haven't finalized how the schedule is going to rotate and all
Right.
that, but that's going to be huge, and God forbid one of you make it to the championship game
Mhm.
over Alabama, but being in Atlanta, that's one of the bigger recruiting cities in the Southeast, including out of Texas. There's a lot of talent, especially speed and talent wise that come out of there. That's just invaluable the more you're there.
Let me get. I'm gonna. We better get to Herb, Mike, because I'm leaving him out here. And I don't want him to feel.
Yeah, he's impatient. You
I
got to.
don't. I want him to feel loved. Roger's getting all the love here.
I love you,
I
Herb.
want. Yeah, we love you, Herb, and Roger. You both. Texas seems to be doing better recruiting wise than Oklahoma, especially offensively. Agree or disagree? I agree to an extent, but I will say this on top of that, I'm obviously playfully arguing with you, Herb. Zion Reagan's, I'm sure I'm butchering his last name. I'm sorry if he is ever listening to this episode. He committed to Oklahoma. He took OU over Georgia. OU was actually able to snub him from the state of Georgia, which was a big time pickup. Looking real quick, he's a 4-star receiver from Gray, Georgia, 4.2340, and a big time weapon for Oklahoma. Huge pickup for OU, especially in the in Georgia's own territory, able to pick up Zion from Georgia as he committed to OU over Georgia. So that was a big pickup. But no, I mean, going back to what you said, though, I mean, for the most part, Herb, no, you're right on spot. I mean, Texas and what what Steve
Steve.
Sarkisian has done at Texas is predominantly what you said. He's recruiting offensively, and with Brent Venables, he's going to utilize Coach Emmett to a T. Coach Coach Emmett Jones is a phenomenal recruiter. He's already showing that big time right now. Able to get a big time, excuse me, a big time receiver in the state of Georgia. So I think with Brendan Venables, he's going to continue coaching defense, but I still think he's going to be able to snap some offensive players. Rod said Tulane did beat, dang it, Tulane did beat USC in the Cotton Bowl. Absolutely, they did. And funny fact is, Raj, Tulane actually should have beat Oklahoma in Norman in 2021. Um, so Tulane's a team not to be messed with. Herb says, "Hey, nothing but love here. I'd rather root for Oklahoma than Texas. Please,
Well,
hey,
and
please."
to kind of go back to his other point, because I don't want to ignore him. You know, right now Texas is a little bit recruiting a little bit in Oklahoma, because I mean you got to think
Absolutely.
how their coaching situations were. You know, most Texas fans were excited to see Sark come in. He had just come off Alabama with huge seasons, a lot of offensive numbers. Um, and everybody was excited when he came in. When they got rid of the other with the other coach, I don't even remember the was it Herman? Yeah, I
Tom
think it was
Herman.
Herman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when Herman left, they were ready for him to go. Lincoln Riley kind of left like a thief in the night, you know, for lack of a better term. And then you say, okay, well, we're going to hire Brett Venables. It's like, okay, but he's not Lincoln Riley. He's a
No.
different guy. So
Yeah,
especially offensively, like having a defensive coach come in, you know, you're going to have to switch gears a little bit and kind of gain it. But I could see that right now. But it's the good thing about recruiting is next year is always different. Oklahoma comes in, turns it around a little bit, has a good second year under Venables, and then that recruiting can flip very easily.
absolutely. No, absolutely. I got a question for you, Mike. I'm gonna see what you're kind of. I'm gonna pick your head on this one. Herb says 2 a.m. Would you would still watch it? Don't lie. Facts, Herb. I can't
Hell
argue that.
yeah.
I
Oh,
can't argue
sorry, I don't
that.
think I said
You're
that.
good.
For
No, you're
sure.
good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna watch football if it's at 2 a.m., 2 p.m. I'm a sports guy. I love watching sports. I mean, I watch Midnight Madness for basketball just because I'm fiending for college basketball at that time. So I'll watch
Right.
it at midnight. I'll watch it 2 in the afternoon at work when I'm not supposed to. Hopefully, my boss doesn't see this. That's why I got ESPN on my
Don't
phone
feel
now.
too bad. My bosses, I got two of them. Hopefully, they don't really. I'm sure they probably watch this. I don't know if they do or not. Hello to them all. I mean, I still do podcast stuff on the clock, so I mean, whatever.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm going to watch sports regardless. You know, they were joking yesterday on the Herb and Raj podcast. You know, once you get done watching this, go check them out, Herb and Raj on YouTube.
Yep.
But they were joking about cricket and other different sports, and I mean, it's just, if that's the only option, I'm going to watch cricket, even if it takes 2 days. I'm going to watch that over the Wheel of Fortune a lot of times. No disrespect to the Wheel of Fortune, but I would rather watch some kind of sport than anything like that. But that's just me.
Would you watch Wheel of Fortune with Ryan Seacrest now?
I'm not mad at that. I mean, obviously, you're losing a legendary host.
Oh,
I like Ryan
absolutely.
Seacrest. He I think he's a little oversaturated. He does a ton.
Yep.
Probably has the most jobs of anybody in the world. But I mean, I've always liked him. He's been all right. I mean, I would still watch it. Vanna will still be there, I guess. So you still got some from the past.
Raj says cricket over Vanner White.
Eh, you got to pick and choose. It's more exciting. You only see Vanna White like every what 3 or 4 minutes when they pick a letter.
That's about
So
right. Yeah, I mean, she's averaging TV time about what 15 minutes, maybe at best.
probably if that in a 30-minute episode, she may be on 5 to 10 minutes.
Hey, question. Speaking of you, I know you mentioned the Thief in the Night with Lincoln Riley, which it is what it is with Lincoln. I'm not mad at him. I mean, for what he got out of USC, I would have probably done the same. Probably not the exact same way he would have did it, how he did it, but I don't blame him for leaving, even though we all know why he left SEC. But anyway, so
Scared. It's okay. You can say it. He was scared.
yeah, he was scared. Well, and what's funny is I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I'm going to. I don't know if I should. Oh well, who
It's your
cares?
show. Say whatever you want.
You know what's funny is Lincoln Riley actually did not agree with. So there's two things that he did not like that took place, and I think that's led him to leave Norman the way probably not the way he did, but that's unfortunate how it happened. One, he actually did not like wearing the Jordan gear simply because he felt like he wanted to choose what he wanted to wear on that game day, whether it was a white polo with whatever kind of shorts, pants he wore, red polo, mixed color polo, visor, no visor, whatever his outfit was for the day. He didn't like that. Number one. He didn't like that. Jordan actually had to say Jordan actually the Jordan brand called the University of Oklahoma. They noticed Lincoln Riley wasn't wearing whatever the God's green earth that was supposed to be worn. OU approaches, I'm sure whoever deals with that, whether it's Joe C, whether that I don't know who that is, deals with that and says, "Hey Lincoln, next time against Kansas, we need you to wear X, Y, and Z." So that was number one, his outfit attire. Number two is simply because Herb. Don't hold on one second. Simply because he, I think Herb likes this commenting thing. And number two is simply because he felt like he was not included enough in the decision making with going to the SEC. He wanted to be in it, he wanted to be a part of the decision making and this, that, something else. Whether or not that's true or not that he was or wasn't a part of it, I might give him that one. He probably should have been like, "Hey, Lincoln. Hey, Coach Mosier. Hey, I can't pronounce our women's basketball coach because it's really difficult too. But Patty Gasso, the softball coach, which I don't think she can have any trouble with the SEC. Skip
That's
Johnson,
a
the
different
baseball.
topic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, she's gonna be fine. And then the rest of the remaining coaches. Here's what the plan is: X, Y, and Z. Plan, kind of felt. Now, whether that took place, who knows? We won't know that. But anyway, so that's what I do know. Going back to Lincoln, what's worse, Dennis Francione leaving the way he did Alabama in the middle of the night, or Lincoln Riley's LSU? I'm not going to. Which he was telling the truth on that one. Um, I mean, he was honest about that. Or the way that Lincoln did the entire season, which makes you wonder if he wasn't trying to get fired because we should have lost a lot of games that year, even into Tulane and Kansas. Um, or the way Lincoln Riley left OU.
I mean, obviously, proximity is always going to dictate. So I'm going to say Franchone
Right.
leaving Alabama just because it hurt more
Right.
at the time. I mean, obviously, it worked out. You fast forward so many years, and
Yep.
everything's happened. So, but at the time, I liked Franchone. The fact that he left the way he did, it hurt. So for me as an Alabama fan, I would definitely say that one affected it more. Um,
The,
if you've got the rule book, or let me know.
yeah, Herb, let us know. Fill us in. You're our cricket stat guy, real quick, and then I'll let Mike continue with the Dennis Francione. Let us know rules about cricket and scoring system because I'm seeing a lot of negatives and I don't understand the scoring system.
Yeah, that should be one of the Herb and Raj podcast segments next week. I expect to hear a full breakdown on the cricket rules, just so we can get into this thing. Uh, but as far as French, anytime it's your team, it's going to hurt more. Because I'm sitting here from a distance watching Lincoln leave and go to USC. He goes, oh man, that sucks for those players. But I kind of understand him wanting to go to USC. That the cachet of that program, everything like that. I would have done it a lot differently. But I can understand the thought behind it. It's harder for me to understand from my perspective as an Alabama fan
Right.
how Franchione did what he did and why he did. I mean, but again, that's does it hurt more when your girlfriend breaks up with you or when your friend's girlfriend breaks up with him? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of that same analogy where it's always going to hurt me more when it's me.
Seacrest is on a wheel. Who allowed this to happen? I don't know, Herb. I found that out on Twitter. Was it last week? I think.
Yeah, it was a week or two ago. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
going to blame somebody, blame Pat Sajak or blame Father Tom
Yeah.
because that dude's undefeated and Pat Sajak is losing to him. So
Yeah.
if he wasn't leaving, I mean, I don't know how hard the job of Wheel of Fortune is. I'm not going to say it's an easy job because I'm not there standing doing all that. And if we talked about, and Herb too, how I've been nervous just to be on this podcast. So doing that show every day, I'm sure I would be pulling my hair out what little bit I have. Obviously, there's not much, but I mean,
Same here.
retiring from that show the way he did, I mean, it's got to be just personal reasons. Obviously, it's not because you don't think he can handle it anymore. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not in that business, but blame him because he's the one leaving. Dad's going off to get milk and not coming back, I guess.
Herb, do you really root against USC? How much of on a scale 1 to 10? Herb, I really don't care what And here's the deal: a lot of OU fans. I'm actually going to speak on OU fans here because I see it. I think more because obviously the following and what I read and see on here on Lincoln on OU. I think there's a lot of OU fans that really do care that is still butthurt that Lincoln Riley left us because they really believe, and they could have won that year. I still firmly believe had Lincoln stayed in 23, I really believe OU would have been in the college football playoff. We obviously would have had Caleb Williams, another Heisman Trophy winner at Oklahoma. He would have got his statue in Heisman Park, which is on the east side of the stadium. Stuff like that. I think all that would have happened. Playoff appearance I think would have because the Big 12 was really bad last year. Just a lot of teams beat each other up last year. Um, Whether or not they would have beat Georgia or Michigan, I don't know. Um,
They'd have had a shot.
Ohio
I mean,
State,
as good
exactly.
as Caleb
Yeah.
Williams was, I mean, we've seen the quarterback changes a lot for every football team, NFL, college, or whatever. But having a Heisman Trophy, just ask Tennessee how much having a Heisman Trophy
Hmm.
candidate on your team is. I mean, you can't replace that. And that I'll talk to some about SEC previews. I don't think Tennessee's going to be near as good as they were, as we found out last night when I mentioned on the Herd Ross podcast. I don't think they're going to be quite as good, but I mean, it's hard to replace that kind of quarterback and that special player. And Alabama's going to go through it.
Hmm.
We don't know who our quarterback's going to be. We've got a couple of guys who we think may be able to do a decent job, but they're not going to be Bryce Young. So
Oh
you
no.
got to find
Mm-mm.
other ways to do that. And it wasn't just Caleb Williams for Oklahoma. I mean, he took what 4 or 5 players, if I'm not mistaken. I don't
Yeah,
remember
'cause, I
the
mean, you
exact
took. I
number.
mean, yeah, 'cause, I mean, you got Mario Williams, or he was going to be a big time. He's a big time receiver at USC last year. He would have been for obviously Oklahoma. Raleek Brown, who was a high school one of the best running backs in high school, that committed to Oklahoma, but then of course switched to USC when he found out Lincoln went over there. And all the recruits that committed, Malachi Nelson, a great quarterback out of this year's high school class. He would have been in Normandy. You can't obviously predict down the road how everything would have panned out, but I still think that last year would have been a whole lot different story. I still think
Oh
Lincoln would
yeah,
have done well, but you
that
know,
Texas game would have been a lot different.
oh,
I'll tell you that much.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
and so to answer your question, Herb, do I really root against USC? Honestly, I really don't. I just don't because I want OU to win, and when OU's not winning, I don't care about anybody else. But as long as Texas doesn't win and Oklahoma State, I'm perfectly fine to be honest. USC can keep doing what they're doing. I still think Lincoln's going to win a national championship with the next. I said that within the first 4 years of his tenure there, I think he's on year two. He's now on year two. That could be this year. So I still think I'm still going to hold that to him. But Lincoln did what was best for Lincoln. We won't know why he did what he did. So hey, power to him. I can't be mad. Lincoln hurt more because he took great players. Absolutely,
That's a good point too. Yeah.
absolutely. On that one compared to Dennis Francione. And I think that's what's funny is Herbert. I think that's going to be the make or break. That could be the next ESPN what ifs for Oklahoma, just like the Thunder's Westbrook and Harden and Kevin Durant.
I mean,
And then
just
Herb,
imagine though in 10 years that 30 for 30 that comes out the night Lincoln left town, the night the lights went out in Oklahoma just to play off Georgia a little bit. I mean,
yep.
just that 30 for 30 in 10 years when somebody finally investigates and breaks down everything that happened, it comes out. It's going to be pretty interesting.
And then on next week's
And if
episode,
you do that, ESPN, I'm going to bring this up that this was my idea, and I'm going to need a check. You heard it
and
here on the Air Raid podcast.
and I just want like 5% of it. Just give me 5%. Give the rest to Mike. Just give me 5%. Cricket Roll. I'm the king. Cricket Rolls next week. Tune in for Herb and Ross
Yes.
podcast. Man, Herb, I'm gonna have to. I got some good international folks out there listening. I may have to let them know on that one. Hey, we know Herb regarding to Alabama. Hey, we know who our QB is. It's one of the three people.
It's
That's all it is.
it's one of three, that's for sure. We're not sure which one that three is. And I know a lot of Alabama fans had different opinions, including me, but I mean, it's going to be one of the three. We've seen them all play to an extent, at
Yep.
least a little. So, flip your coin, or however. I guess it's hard to do a coin with three people, but rock, paper, scissors it, however you need to do it, and let's get it going. Hopefully, everything else will be. And, it's the last time we've had a real bad quarterback battle was what 2015 with Coker,
Mm-hmm.
or even a little after that when Jalen Hurts and Barnett and Hurts came in and had a good season. But I mean, we've done this before. Even during Saban, we've had this issue where we didn't know going into game 1 or 2 who our starting quarterback is going to be. And I mean, hey, Jake Coker didn't do it that year. Came back next year, won a national championship. By the way, transfer quarterback had to
Mm-hmm.
sit behind a really great quarterback in Jameis Winston, kind of like what he had to what Buckner had to do with Sam Hartman at Notre Dame.
Yep.
Maybe I'll take that. Um, so I mean, there's a lot of similarities to past quarterback battles that we've had. So I mean, you got to trust in Nick Saban. He's been doing it enough. He's been won it enough. He's got the track record, and he's not sitting in his bedroom on a podcast now. He's out recruiting, so he knows better than I do. That's all I can do. Not that he wouldn't come on the Array podcast. Nick Saban, if you're listening, come on.
Oh,
You're on
Nick
the podium
Saban.
tomorrow.
Nick
After you're on
Saban,
the
come
podium, come
on.
on down.
Our good friend Randy Powers, the host of the Damn Beast Media podcast for the Georgia Bulldogs. If you're listening or watching, you're down in the SEC Media Days. Get me Lane Kiffin. I want to pick Lane Kiffin's mind.
Oh goodness, that would be fun. That'd be a
That
fun
would be
episode
so
just to watch.
entertaining. Taj Point 2.0.
And I
I
don't know
think.
if I'd ask Lane Kiffin anything about football.
No.
I could ask Lane Kiffin a lot of other stuff that would be a lot of
Exactly.
fun.
Yep. Raj, got to run, guys. Excellent show already. Looking forward to the next one. Appreciate the
Yeah,
support.
he had mentioned he wasn't going to be here all night. So yeah,
No.
enjoy dinner, Raj.
Yep.
Have a good night.
All good, Raj. Um, feel free to join the live conversation: Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and the YouTube. Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, preferably on there, simply because it's easier to get the comments on here. But what is your expectations? What's your kind of, I know you guys are having a quarterback battle in Tuscaloosa, but minus the situation, how are you guys looking, in your opinion, for the Crimson Tide this year? And what do you expect when it comes to the 23 season?
I mean, I expect what I expect every year at this point.
Right.
I'll say it. I'm a spoiled Alabama fan. I expect to win a national championship. You figure this quarterback thing out in that first game against Middle Tennessee. Be ready to go by Texas and get going. I mean, you've got dudes on the defense. We say that every year, but I think this defense is going to be a lot better. Your secondary is going to be a lot better. That you've picked up some new guys. You got Kool-Aid coming back. He was Kool-Aid wasn't unanimous, but he was all SEC pick. You got Jaheim Otis on the line there, who's going to have another year under him. A couple other guys. You've got linebackers for days. They've always recruited. I think our O-line is going to be a lot better. I'm excited to see what happens. I've always been a huge Jace McClellan fan, so I'm excited to see what he does in the backfield. Plus, a lot of the recruits coming in as freshmen coming in. I think we're going to have a really good season regardless of who's at quarterback. If it's Milton, we'll run a lot more RPOs. And don't get me wrong. So Ty Simpson and Buckner can both move. They're both considered dual threat quarterbacks as well. So it's not like if he's not in the game, they're just going to stand back there and throw the ball every time. They can move with the legs too. So I really expect another great season. I expect to be better than last year. Obviously, I don't think we're going to lose to Tennessee, as we've talked about before. I don't think Tennessee's going to be as good as they were. LSU's kind of a wild card because I know they've got Jaden Daniels coming back. They've got a lot of good players coming back. So that one's going to be the real tough game in the West. And then you move on, to play Georgia in the East. Barring they get their quarterback situation, which I guess we're all guessing Kirby Smart's going to do. I know I saw today that Caleb Beck is pretty much kind of the leader in the clubhouse for the QB. They haven't announced it, I don't think, but I think he mentioned today at media days because he was on the podium that he was kind of in the lead for the quarterback position. You got Brock Bowers, who is a freak,
Yep.
man. But and they've got dudes on defense too. I mean, they're going to reload on defense, so. Whether we go undefeated or not, I want to be in the playoffs. I want to win the national championship. If you stumble one time, look, I get it. It's hard to go undefeated in any college football, no matter who you are. Of course, I want to win every game, but that's my expectation is to win the championship.
I think that's fair because, I mean, again, you look at, Alabama's history, and it's the same thing we hear, especially on the podcast, at least on air raiders. I want somebody different. I'm tired of the New England Patriots when Tom Brady was raising havoc. in New England, and same with Alabama. And like I told Randy, I said it might be a thing with Georgia. We may get a thing situation with Georgia. Well, I'm sick and tired of seeing Georgia. Well, beat them.
Yeah.
Let your team first of all get good enough to be in the playoff situation, and then play them in the playoffs and then beat them. That's how you avoid Alabama, and that's how you avoid Georgia in the national championship. Simply beat them, and then you won't have to worry about that. Rock rock paper scissors lizard Spock, and include the two other
Nice.
QBs for Herb from Herb.
Oh, so
Uh,
include all five of them, Lonergan and Lonergan. I don't remember the fifth one. I can't go that deep. I'm not that good. Maybe they know all the guys. I know Lonergan's the fourth. So I don't know who the fifth one is. But yeah, I
let's
mean, however you need to do it.
and then will I miss Bellum? I will just because it's a state game. I know when you look at the record, it's not even a rivalry. It's what is it, 90-16, 91-16. I mean, again, it's not record doesn't speak for itself, but no, for an in-state rival, I think it's gonna suck. But we saw that coming. We kind of had a feeling that was going to happen. I mean, when the rumors were out there that when somebody from Texas A&M leaked it, I'll put it that way first, leaked it that Oklahoma Texas was trying to get into the SEC and leave the Big 12. The next following day here in Oklahoma, that was the biggest thing. If Oklahoma leaves, the Bellum's done. I mean, it's something that we knew about. But to answer your question, Herb, I will, and it's not so much because for the most part, we dominate them, and that's not thing. It's just the in-state rivalry. So I'm sure we'll play them in basketball or wrestling and probably lose theirs, but football wise, yeah, we'll be done. But no, it's gonna be a bummer. I know this year in Stillwater though, that's gonna be the ticket try to have because that's gonna be a doozy,
So
big
it's in
time.
Stillwater this year.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to try to put it on you there
Oh man,
in
that's
their
gonna be.
house leaving. Yeah.
I think for OU and Texas this year, any road games are going to be pretty vocal. I'm sure.
But there again, that's true for anything, and it's not in state. But
Absolutely.
I'd ask her, if some of the scheduling models come out, are you going to miss LSU or Tennessee, whichever one we have
Hmm.
to lose every year? Because that's not going to be a yearly thing, depending on
Yep.
which model they go with. So I mean, it's always changing. It's always fluid. Kind of. I'll miss it all the way to the bank, kind of thing. I'm sure Oklahoma's thinking, every time they go cash that
Hmm.
SEC check, they'll miss Bedlam a little less.
Oh yeah. I mean, when they get the checks, it's gonna be that's who cares about our little brothers up in
Yeah.
Stillwater?
I wonder how those guys at State are doing.
Oh
I
man,
bet
they got
they didn't. Yeah, they're not at the big bank with us. They're at
they're
the
at
food bank,
the food
and they're at the
bank.
food bank trying to get scraps from everybody else. But I'm not salty about the Big 12 at all. I
No,
heard the
no,
comments last week about the SEC, and as an SEC guy, I got you. So yeah, I'm not salty at all. It's fine.
no. And Mike Gundy said it best, and I'm not mad for what Mike Gundy said. I don't appreciate how the commissioner did it, but it is what it is. When you know layman's terms, and pretty much I'm going to sum it up how he said it was. Well, Oklahoma, Texas, they weren't in the last. They weren't carrying the league. If they were, they weren't in the Big 12 championship the last 2 years. Okay, if that was your best comeback, you were a moron. Oklahoma did in fact carry the conference, and so did Texas until they fired Mac Brown. And once they fired Mac Brown, Texas wasn't back. But but anyway, they're just salty.
And
But
I'll tell you,
anyway,
that's one thing that I would that I hate about not getting other teams from there is I like Mike Gundy. I think he's entertaining.
mhm.
I'd like to see him in the SEC media days just so I'd get more of his sound bites. That'd be a lot of fun. Dude says a lot of funny stuff. Don't know that I think he's a great football coach. He's all right, I guess, but
He's a
he's
man.
funny. Yeah, he. How old is he now? He was
He's
40 back
definitely
then. Was
not
he like
40.
50,
He's
50
definitely
something
not
now?
40. Oh,
Because
I'm sure he's in
that
his.
was what 10 plus years ago, wasn't it? That was a
Oh
while.
yeah, because Donovan, I think it was Donovan Woods was.
Hey, let me do this. Let me do this. Hey, Herb, why don't you look that up for me since I'm your stat guy on your podcast?
Ah!
Since I'm here, Herb, why don't you look up how old Mike Gundy is and let us know? Hmm.
I'm gonna get it just in case
And then
he.
tell me his contract. Just
Now,
saying.
Mike Gundy is a guy. I'm not bashing him. I think he's a phenomenal coach. I don't hate OSU as much as I hate Texas. I just want everybody to know that.
It's
Okay.
fun how you have to preface that, doesn't it?
It is. Yeah, people are like,
I
well,
hate
you
these
don't.
guys, but not as much as I hate these
Not
guys
as
now.
Texas. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Texas. I
I
don't. I can't stand those idiots.
mean, I don't like Tennessee, but by gosh, they're not Auburn.
Nope. I feel like they have to keep Tennessee, Auburn for Bama. I won't miss LSU.
So, okay, I'll answer. I'll ask a follow up, and I know it's hard to do because trust me, I do this on your podcast every week, Herb. It's hard to type answers in. Do you really think the SEC is going to give up LSU Alabama, considering that's been one of the highest rated games for the past 10 years? Mm, I, I, I don't know that they will, but you tell me.
I will agree on him on the LSU one. If Alabama's not stuck with him, I think LSU is a team to kind of keep an eye on the next few years
Oh yeah,
with
but yeah. You bring Brian Kelly in.
Brian Kelly. Thank you.
Brian Kelly is a great coach. I mean, as you can see what he did with Notre Dame, balling out as much as they did before he left. I mean, everybody has said it's hard to bring dudes to Notre Dame. They're struggling a little bit now. I think they've pulled it a little bit together this year, but Freeman struggled last year to try to recruit them for them and everything. So I mean, yeah, he's a good coach. He may be goofy too. Some of the dances he did for recruiting and all that, and all the little 360 cameras with him dancing with players may look stupid, but the dude wins.
He's
You
got to
can't
work on
argue
his
that point.
choreography. He's got to work on that, but I think
Oh,
he's got.
that's pornography. What is that? Sorry. That's a different platform, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry, continue.
You're good. I'm thinking of Brian Kelly now, just doing the 360s.
Yeah.
But no, I think college football next year is gonna be fun. Whether or not hopefully we can still get the college football game, that'd be kind of cool. But USC, UCLA to the Big Ten, which is interesting, kind of dumb at the same time, and then Texas and Oklahoma to the Southeastern Conference. College football is in the right direction, of course, and also college football playoff expansion next year. So,
Yes, sir.
here's a fun one before we move on to the next topic. How many SEC teams will be in the college football playoff next season in 24?
Let's see. I'll say 4.
I could see that.
You got LSU, Alabama, Georgia,
Yep.
who I think are probably locks. I think somebody like Ole Miss, somebody like that can sneak in that has kind of an easier schedule. And he's 55. Thank you, Herb. I appreciate that.
Mike Gundy 55. So you're telling me
15
years ago. So Mike Gundy's not only is he a man, he's 55. He's getting closer to the
Yeah, he's getting close to that blue light special,
blue light
senior
special.
citizen discount.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there could be a team that sneaks up. I know, I'm not as high on Tennessee, but if Joe Milton comes in and plays like Hendon Hooker, they'll be right there too. So there's always another one that can come up.
Herb,
You even
Gundy has
looked
a
up the contract.
perpetual 5-year deal with annual raises. Here is what he is set to make this year, included 22 with 7.5. This year, upcoming season, 7.625. And then next year, 7.750. That was what's funny, Herb, and I know it doesn't really affect you because obviously it's an OSU team. But what's funny is what's more impressive is the fact that he makes a lot of money to win only 7 games a year.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Not many.
Yeah, I heard somebody talk about that the other day. How everybody thought it was crazy. 16 years ago when Alabama said we were going to pay Nick Saban $2 million, and everybody went crazy. And now Mike Gundy makes 7.5,
and barely can get 9 wins in.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, good night.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
The XFL and the USFL. And
okay, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to stop you right there. Put some respect on it. USFL, 2-time back-to-back world champion USFL Birmingham Stallions coming right here from Birmingham, Alabama. Thank you very much.
I couldn't tell you that because I didn't know who won.
Well, yeah, it's Birmingham. They're in my backyard. I mean,
nice.
I can look out my window and watch them play. Not really, but that's what I mean. Yeah, back-to-back, both seasons at Birmingham's won the championship.
Nice.
On a backup quarterback, no less. Everybody's talking about Alex Magoo. I don't know if this is as in-depth as you wanted to go with this, but, it's funny. Magoo is talking about, he won the MVP, but he wasn't the starting quarterback. So they're going to have a little bit of a controversy too, with Jamar Smith coming back and being healthy next year, do you give up the MVP of the league this year and the end championship game and Alex Magoo, or and go back to your normal guy Jamar Smith, or what do you do? It's going to be a fun time next year in Birmingham too.
Well, and I was gonna pick your head on this one because I'll be honest with you, Mike. I come on. Um, I didn't watch any XFL even though Bob Stoops won the XFL championship, but that's
Hmm.
kind of cool. Um, I didn't watch hardly any of it. I mean, none of it, and neither the USFL. From your standpoint, because obviously you can speak more than I can and give a respectful opinion about it as well.
Yeah.
Is the USFL a great product that you can see continue to last, or is there still some fixtures that it could actually work on along? And the same question with the XFL.
So here's the deal. It's not the NFL. It's
Right.
never going to be. You're never going to have top tier guys there. So it's always going to be that lower tier. Now, whether you can help survive, I think both leagues have a good model. I know it came out that the XFL lost like $9 billion or something like that. I
Mm,
don't remember the number, but it was a huge number.
right.
But I mean, they expected that. It's year one, you got a lot of costs. They've planned for it. They expected to take a loss. They're going to come back in year two. So I think both of them, better than in years past, have business plans that set up for the future. USFL has already announced season three's coming, so they know they're going to get a third season, which is more than a lot of these other leagues have
Hmm.
ever really done. Usually, it's 1.5, 2 seasons. And in the XFL's case, it's a half season both times that they get cut. The second
Right.
one, not really their fault with COVID and everything. I'm glad it kind of came back. I like the concepts, and that's the cool part is you can try stuff out there, and don't think the NFL doesn't watch because they do. Um, they they're taking a lot of the innovations that those guys are doing and putting it in the NFL. They've talked about different rules changes that the XFL and the USFL have done. Changing, point afters, looking at different ways to do kickoffs and things like that to make the game safer and still be exciting. So, I mean, I think they can last. As long as they stay true to their guns. I really like the USFL model. Obviously, I'm a little more biased there because I've seen it more.
Right.
Um, to where they've got the pods, it saves them a lot of their cost. I think that's one of the reasons they didn't lose as much money as the USFL as the XFL, because they weren't going to every city. They
Right.
had pods. The first year everybody played in Birmingham, so the whole league was here, and everybody played here. They all stayed in the same hotel, so you're not having all that travel budget. This year they've broken it off to there's two teams in about four different cities. So again, you've got some travel, but not as much. So they've kind of spread that out a little bit. So I think that model is going to work well going in the future. Now, obviously, they're going to expand because they want every city to have it, or they may come out where they rotate it. 1 year these four cities will be pods, the next year these four cities will be pods, and swap them up. That way, other people can have home games. Um, but I think more than years past, one, we want football more.
Right.
We are a want it now society, and going from February to August without any football, that's just not feasible for a lot of people
Hmm.
anymore. That's the only reason I watched it, because I wanted to watch football. And then I got invested, obviously being in Birmingham, and I got invested in the XFL. I'm a St. Louis Battlehawks fan because of AJ McCarron, former Alabama quarterback, playing there. Um, but I wanted to watch football, and you don't get to see the Canadian League and the European
No.
League, which
Mm-mm.
play some spring stuff. But I think now you have more of an appetite for it than ever. So I think if nothing else, it's going to last a lot longer than any of the other leagues ever have.
No, I was kind of curious because I know like the XFL here. It's the name of it's kind of mentioned because obviously Bob Stoops. I mean, if it wasn't for Bob
Mhm.
Stoops, I don't think Oklahoma City would be like, oh yeah, by the way, the Arlington Renegades they beat whoever. Nobody really, I don't think really would have cared. I'm just kind of curious because I know you know with you really keeping an eye on both, kind of from a fan standpoint. Like I said, I didn't watch any of it, so I can't give an opinion either and or. And so I was like, I'm going to ask it just from a standpoint about especially the USFL, and kind of see what that's like and how the fans are reacting to it.
It's hit or miss. I mean, it because I mean there is still other stuff going on in those seasons, and again, it's not the NFL. It's not that
Right.
same brand of football. But people still go to minor league baseball games.
Hmm.
Do they sell out minor league baseball games? No, they're not going to sell out the USFL and XFL in a lot of places. I know St. Louis, I think, had a couple of sellouts. Their fans came out a lot, and that's a lot of reasons because they want to show the NFL that they'll support a team because they want an expansion team back there.
Hmm.
Since they lost the Rams, so and that's good for that too. You get some of these fringe cities like a St. Louis, like a Birmingham, um, that don't have professional sports, and they want to show up and show out and show the NFL we can support a pro team. A lot of people have stepped up. I mean, and the product is good. It's better than midline college football.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna say it's better than the SEC because again, I'm more invested, and obviously most of those players are going to the NFL anyway.
Oh
But I mean,
yeah.
it's like watching you know midline Mac Thursday night action. The Mac game and stuff like that you want to see. That's it's still going to be good football.
Hmm.
It's still going to be something I want to watch, but it's never going to be on that level of everything else. And if you take that for what it is and not expect it to be the NFL, I think you have a more of a respect for it than somebody going in and will go, these guys suck. They're not. Where's Lamar and where's Tua?
Hmm.
And yeah, that's not that. These guys are trying to get there, and there's some good players. They've already had multiple players signed from both leagues, going to NFL practice squads trying to make a team, just like minor league baseball. They're trying to make it. So, you have to understand it for what it is.
Exactly. And Herb, don't we haven't forgot you. He's doing this, by the way, Mike, on the beach. Just so you
Yeah, I
know.
know. Don't complain to me about being on the beach, Herb. I love you, but don't complain about being on the beach.
Enjoy the beach,
I,
Herb. But
I love it. I want to be down there with you. Hopefully, we can go sometime. But everything's better on the beach. It's
of
not going to make
course.
your job harder. You still have Wi-Fi. You did your show yesterday from the beach. You
But
still got Wi-Fi.
Herb, the question I have for you is: Are you barefoot on the beach? If you're still watching, are you barefoot?
Oh, he's still there. He's fine.
He's he's fine. Don't fall asleep, Herb. A crab may walk up your leg or something. But you mentioned expansion in the NFL. Of course, you always hear rumors of the NFL wanting to expand. Watched a video a few days ago talking about if they are going to expand, it's probably going to be internationally with four teams international, um, London, Mexico City, and then two teams in Canada. Do you see which whatever? Do you see the NFL first of all expanding? If so, what are your eyesight's potential cities being? And if it is international, where do you could see them potentially going?
I don't know logistically how you can do international. I get it. There's a huge market over there. You wanna expand your brand to those areas because you want to make it a global game. Um, but trying to go to Europe and all that, I know they do it for a game or two. But just schedule wise, it's going to be tough. I wasn't insulting Maction. I was comparing it to a professional league. Come on now, I like Maction.
I do too. Give me my Tuesday and Thursday nights of football.
Heck yeah. But I mean, just logistically, I don't know that it's feasible for a whole season to have teams in Europe or maybe I know they've got some. They were talking about Mexico at some point. I know they've talked about Canada, which are a little bit easier because time zones are still the
Hmm.
same. But trying to go out that far over to Europe where they're doing a lot of the games is just tough logistically and money wise. I mean, the amount of money to send, because you got to play at least 8 games over there
Yep.
for that team plus some. If you got multiple teams out there, what do you do? I know I've heard some models that they've talked about where a team would go play back to back weeks over there. They just stay over there for 2 weeks and play one team and then go play the other team over there. But I mean, that's smarter people than me in a room trying to figure that out. As far as here in the U.S., I mean St. Louis, obviously, barefoot. That's a sight. Sight.
We
That's
appreciate
yes.
the vision, Herb, of you being barefoot. And not only are you barefoot, but you're shirtless.
Yeah, there you go. Hopefully, you got your toes in the water and your butt in the sand, as the song says.
And
um,
Herb, you might be seeing LeBron James there, just so you know. And if so, don't tell Raj.
Wait, did he go to Cancun? What beach are you on? Are you not like at Panama City or something? Are you in
Exactly.
Cancun with LeBron?
Yeah,
I gotta
he's
see
with
what
LeBron,
picture.
dude.
Hey, are you gonna be on the banana boat this year? Nice, I like it.
We need pictures, Herb, of you and LeBron.
And I don't even care if you Photoshop it. Just do it.
Exactly. I
Photoshop. I don't
mean,
care. Look, you're learning how to do all this stuff with your podcast. Photoshop me a picture of you and LeBron at the beach together. I'm good with that. And send it to Rob, me, and Raj. Send it on our group text.
feet feet in the
Behind the scenes
water,
text.
Herb.
But,
Feet in the water, hugging. You got to get the whole emotion in there.
but to go back to your question, St. Louis obviously I think would be good because it's
Oh
proven
yeah.
that they can do it there. Um, I, I don't know really. I don't know because they've already moved to Vegas. That was one big one that
Hmm.
everybody had talked about. They've already got one in Nashville. I know baseball's talking about moving to Nashville as well. So they've already got that there with the Titans. I don't know that you would want to have another Florida, California. Oh, sorry, storm. Sorry, sidetrack squirrel. I don't know if you want another Texas team or Florida team or anything like that just to saturate those markets. So that second city, it may be tough. Maybe you go up to a Toronto or you go up to one of the Canadian cities and try it out, and you do St. Louis and Toronto.
I was gonna say because I'm thinking on the West Coast. Oakland's had their fair share. They obviously can't do it. Um, I don't know Sacramento's logistics when it comes to financials. Um, and Carolina Teague, who was on the podcast at one time a while back in October, I believe, um, down in San Antonio. Do you think San Antonio could be a potential, or is it still what I would consider still too small of a market for an NFL team?
Well, especially with Houston and
Right.
Dallas. So you've already got two bigger teams there. Football's a lot different than basketball when you got to
Hmm.
have 53-man roster. You can have four teams in a state and it'd be okay. Um, Football, you just can't do that. It's too hard. I don't think that there's enough there. I've never been to San Antonio, so I can't tell
Right.
you legit for fact there. But I don't think it's feasible.
I've been to San Antonio once, and I'm not going to give you my opinion because I wasn't there thinking, oh, this would be a perfect spot for whatever. Herb says LeBron only hangs with Raj, by the way.
Hashtag RFC. Don't forget that one. Yes, sir.
Hashtag RAFC.
Founder and president of the RFC. I started it, just so you know. A little famous. It's okay.
Hey, nothing wrong with being famous. Nothing at all. Um, Raj, just be careful. I don't want to see you on these videos of you being chased by a shark, though. Herb. Sure. Sorry. If I said Raj, I meant Herb. Um, I like to talk some wrestling.
Sure.
Very rarely does anybody want to come on and talk some wrestling. WWE, which I grew up watching the NWO, the Ultimate Warriors, the Bret Harts, the Owen Harts, Cactus Jack, Mankind, Do Love, whatever. It's not obviously as great as it once was, but you can tell they're trying to get it there. What's your thoughts on this whole bloodline storyline, and where are we going to see this at? Is main event Jay Uso going to dethrone who I like, Roman Reigns, at SummerSlam? Are we going to carry this to really? I'm trying to think of the next biggest pay per view besides for
Survivor
the rest of the
Series.
year. Survivor Series will be your next one after SummerSlam, or are we going
Yeah.
to try to get dethroned Roman in WrestleMania 40 next year?
I So to answer your first question, I've also watched wrestling since I was a kid.
Yep.
I'm 43 now, or I'm sorry, 42, almost 43. Don't know my own age. It's okay.
Right.
Um, and I've watched wrestling since I was a kid. And I've seen the NWO. I've seen, some of the greater storylines.
Hmm.
You've got Hogan and Macho Man, with the Ultimate Power and the breakup with those guys and Miss Elizabeth. Some of the better storylines in the history of WWE and WCW.
Hmm.
I've never gotten off into the sort of the fringe indie stuff. Um, to me, the Bloodline will go down. And I'm going to get heat for this. I know I am. The Bloodline will go down as the best storyline in WWE history. period.
Mm,
The the twists and turns that it's taken, you know, everybody was so mad when Cody didn't win at WrestleMania, but when
right.
you look at what's happened after WrestleMania, that was probably better for business because if Cody wins, what do you do after that? Cody
Hmm.
just goes on to fight Seth Rollins or Bobby Lashley or somebody like that, and it's just a
Brock.
normal feud. Or Brock it's going to be for the third time at SummerSlam, but I mean the storytelling and everything else that they've had in the bloodline especially over the past year and a half, especially with the whole Sami Zayn thing and now Jey Uso and breaking up the way it is. Um, I, it's one of the more intricate storylines because I was a huge WCW and NWO fan. That
Oh
when
yes.
when those guys came out and when Hogan came out and turned into the NWO, that was probably the biggest shock in wrestling history at the time. Um, some of the turns and twists and everything going on now, I think are to that level. I won't say it's above it but there's been more of them. It wasn't just that one shock. You had Sammy turning, then later on now you've got Jimmy and what's Jay going to do? Now Jay's
Hmm.
turned. Now what's Solo going to do? Because you got Solo in the mix now. Obviously for those who don't watch, they have no idea what we're talking about. But Solo picking up the lay during the tribal court a couple weeks ago and just kind of looking to sow those seeds of doubt there, going maybe Solo can do it. And as far as your second question, who dethrones him? I don't know. I I, I don't think it's going to be Jey Uso at this point. I think you get the same payout as you would if Cody had done it. Because where do you go next?
Right.
What happens after? Unless they let him do solo for a little bit, go with him, and really it depends on who they can get for 40. Can you get The Rock at WrestleMania 40 to make it a big deal? Do you want Cody to go finish the story at WrestleMania 40? Because going after Seth Rollins' title does seem like a consolation prize. You
Hmm.
brought that belt just because Roman takes his ball and goes home for a few months. We're going to give you this belt. And as great as Seth Rollins is and that championship is, everybody's going to see it as second best.
Yep.
So, and I think Cody's even mentioned that, Reigns is the story that he wants to finish. He wants that belt with his dad, or that his dad never got. He wants to finish that story. So to me, the way I would do it is kind of keep going the way you're going. You've got Jay and Jimmy who can feud with Roman over the next few months, um, and then let Cody. I don't really want Cody to win the Royal Rumble again, but I want Cody to do it. He guess he kind of has to at this point if you're going to finish that story. Go on and beat him at WrestleMania 40 because I think the payoff there will be twice as big as it would have been at 39, especially with the feuds that he's going through with Brock now because you've got, like I said, their rubber match going off at SummerSlam that they just announced last night. They're going to add a stipulation to it
Hmm.
uh, to make it a big blow off. You've got a couple other guys. Cody's been talking about the Judgment Day guys. He can kind of go in there with Finn or Damian Priest or anybody like that and have a little feud here and there. But ending with Roman Reigns, main event night 2, WrestleMania 40. If you can't get The Rock, because obviously that's a better story
Well, of course, absolutely.
because it's still in the family and everything like that. Let Cody finish the story there.
I was always wondering, because we're obviously, I understand, if you read all these rumors, well, Roman wants to spend more time with the family. I totally get that. I respect that. And, obviously he's fighting off, he fought off, I should say, leukemia at one time. And so obviously, he's been there, done that before. But, um,
And he's earned it.
oh,
A lot of people, a lot
absolutely.
of people disrespect Roman,
Absolutely.
but Roman has carried this company for a
Yeah.
few years. When he went out, you had Brock and Drew for everything Drew McIntyre did during COVID while
Hmm.
Roman Reigns was gone. That was awesome. He carried the company when he was gone. But other than that, like him or hate him, Roman Reigns has been the face of the company for 5, 6, 7 years now.
Yep.
So I mean, he's earned that time now. He's at that. He's getting to that John Cena level where you can start taking some time off and being a little bit less in. And I don't want him to go to a Brock schedule where he's 3 pay-per-views and that's it. But he's earned some of that.
No, absolutely. And I was always kind of wondering, like, well, like where are we going with the storyline? I mean, obviously he keeps going. I like with Jay and Solo, and of course Paul Heyman this past on SmackDown. That was cool, but it's like, okay, now we got it. We got to need a twist here. We got to get a twist here. I don't know what kind of twist we need, and it of course carries on to 40, but with Cody potentially, I prefer like The Rock or somebody. But anyway, um, what do you think? Triple H is. Are we pretty safe that Triple H is probably going to have Damian Priest be more focused on Seth Rollins than more trying to dethrone Roman?
Yeah. So yeah, to me, I think they're going to keep the Judgment Day insulated with Seth Rollins, and I say the Judgment Day because he's still going through Finn. They always say
Right.
announced their championship match last night at SummerSlam, and I have said, and I've heard a few other people say it, and I don't remember the names, but I'm not the only person that said this, so I don't want people to think I'm smarter than everybody.
Right.
To me, the best storyline would be to have Finn Balor win at SummerSlam, and then be what I would call a Mad King or a Mad Prince, to
Ooh.
where the psychology of whether Damian Priest would cash in or not just gets to him, and he gets more jumpy every week, and he gets more paranoid every week. And Damian Priest, like every victory that Finn Balor gets, Damian Priest runs out to the ring with his briefcase, but he just hugs him or he gives him a high five, congratulates his teammate,
Right.
and this just seeds more doubt into Finn Balor, and he becomes paranoid. And I think that would be a really cool story to tell with him, because I think Finn could do it. Finn's pretty versatile as well. Not that Seth's not, but it's hard to sew that with Seth, just in his situation. But just to have that kind of, you know, Mad King sitting on his throne, worried about everybody around him because he's so afraid that Damian Priest, his best friend, his stablemate's going to cash in at any minute. And even though his stablemate said, I'm not going to. No, you're good. I'm not. I'm not going to. You're safe. We're brothers.
Yep.
And just to see how that would develop would be kind of cool. Because at this point, Seth Rollins doesn't need a championship. The championship needed Seth Rollins.
Right.
I was glad that he won it. I really like his reign. I like his character. I think he's probably the number 2 or 3 guy in the company, behind maybe Roman and maybe Cody. But he's one of those top 3 guys in the entire company, so he can go over and do really anything. You could throw him into a feud with Roman for a little bit, because him and Roman have history, and Roman's
Hmm.
never beat him clean and all that. And you can have that be part of the storyline before Cody gets to him or something like that, or they can sell it a few different things. Um, but I'd really like Finn to win at SummerSlam. Don't know that he will, but if I was writing the story, which WWE, if you're hiring, that's the way I would do
That'd be dope, dude, if they would hire you. Kind of like that because
it. You think?
that would be nice. Trying to have Finn Balor obviously win it, and here comes Damian Priest with Dom Dom, which I. What do you like, Dom Dom? I'm not
Do I
really
like?
I'm not really digging him.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? I mean, and you're not supposed to. He's doing his job as a heel. You're supposed to hate him. The fact that he's getting more booze than anybody else when he just started out as Ray's kid is impressive. And big ups to Ray for putting him over as much as he did the
Right.
last year to get that, because now you don't even have to have Rey Mysterio in the storyline for people to hate Dominic. When it first happened, if it wasn't Dominic and Rey Mysterio, everybody's like, okay, yeah, it's Dominic Mysterio. Good job. You got a match, you won, you
Right.
cheated. But now he's gotten to that point with the help of Rhea and the other Judgment Day guys, to every time he talks, and it's hilarious. Every time he tries to say something, and you see some of the same things, and I don't want to compare him to this guy because Don Callis has been around forever. Kind of the same thing with AEW and Don Callis. Every time that
Hmm.
dude opens his mouth, you can't hear him talk over him with a microphone because they're booing. So I mean, that's impressive that a kid that young has learned and gotten to a point at that level. Because I obviously I'm going to pull back the curtain. It's scripted. If you
Well, of
didn't
course.
know,
Yeah.
sorry,
Exactly.
I ruined Christmas. But I see it for what it is. I see it for the story. And the fact that he has worked his way up to that is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah. For
But
all the listeners out there, if you're a wrestling fan, you didn't realize it was scripted, and you didn't realize all this is actually planned out. Well, sorry to make your heart bust today, but it is. I'm sorry. Um, MJF. I like MJF. Um, I think his contract runs up in the next.
2024.
Yeah, I was saying I thought it was
Yep.
next year. Could we? I know we can't really foresee the future. I'm not obviously gonna go that route, but would MJF be a perfect fit in WWE?
Nope. Nope. Not at all. And I know I'm going to catch heat for saying that because, and look, I love MJF. I think his character in AEW
Oh
is
yeah.
awesome. He's great on the mic. He
Mm-hmm.
can get a crowd to turn. He's one of the only people I have seen that can be a babyface and a heel in the same promo
Oh,
and do it to a level where it's one extreme or the other. Like anybody can get somebody to cheer for him with a pop every now and then, but for somebody that can go from one spectrum to the other is great. But I don't think he works in WWE because he would be handcuffed in WWE. The reason he works in AEW is because Tony lets
mm-hmm.
him cook, as the kids say. They let him do what he wants to do. You can't do that in WWE. You know, they're just now getting away from scripted promos, so they're getting away from it a little bit,
Yep.
but they're not going to hand MJF a mic and say, just go talk. Where Tony Khan will do that, and that's what makes MJF who he is. I think he's great in the ring. I think he would succeed in the WWE. I don't
Oh,
think he would be
absolutely.
as big as he is in AEW. And that's the WWE's fault, not MJF's fault.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna kind of get your opinion. 'Cause I agree with what with what you said. I was curious from another fan standpoint of MJF and where they would fit in, whether or not he would fit in with WWE. But um,
But don't get me
he,
wrong. I think he would make any gimmick work.
oh,
He would
absolutely.
succeed in the WWE. Now, don't get me wrong on that. He would be successful, but he would not be the top star mega heel
Oh
that
no.
he
Mm-mm.
is in AEW because of that reason.
Nope. Excuse me. No, I agree with you on that. I don't. Yeah, he would his character would have to build up in WWE compared to where he is now. And I know it's obviously again scripted, just so everybody knows. I don't. I don't see MJF wanting to be kind of that person to where he has to rebuild himself. But, I mean, I don't know him personally. Who knows? But I don't see that. But we could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, good luck to him and whatever he does. I don't watch AEW every week,
No.
every
Mm-mm.
episode, but what I do watch, I do enjoy the stuff with him and Adam Cole right now. I'm a big Adam Cole fan, and the stuff they're doing with the kind of the buddy cop kind of
Nope.
thing, reluctant partners. Obviously, that's probably going to end soon with the tag tournament ending coming up in the next couple of weeks. But they do good work. I mean, I'm not a hater of AEW by any means. I don't think they're as good as the WWE, my personal opinion.
No. Mm-mm.
But I'm one of those people who say you can enjoy both. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to hate one to like the other. It's not college football in Auburn, Alabama, or OU in Texas to bring it full circle. Um,
Exactly.
just because I like it WWE, I don't want AEW to lose every week like I would, with Auburn
Or
saying,
Texas.
or Texas. So and that's the good thing about it is it's one of those things where you can consume all products and still be a fan of both.
I think if you're a fan of wrestling, I definitely would say give if you haven't watched it, which I'm sure if you're a wrestling fan that is listening and you haven't heard about AEW, I'd be kind of concerned with what you have been watching, but give it a try. I mean, again, it's a good product, but I don't religiously watch it time and time again. For that matter. Um, Alrighty. On Twitter, got a troll here. I was gonna say it. Alabama sucks nuts.
That's good. And you can't post who just said that. I'd be
No,
interested to know who
I
said
know. I
that.
wish. Let's see here. It's user something. Let's see if I can
Oh, it's
find it.
just username. I got you.
Yeah. Oh.
And look, I mean, a lot of people think that. A lot of people. And you mentioned earlier about are we tired of Georgia? Are we tired of you know this team here. Um, the only people that say I'm tired of the same team losing it, winning every year are the teams that lose.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
If your
beat
team's the
them.
one winning, you don't say I'm tired of this dynasty or I'm tired of this team winning every year. You're like, okay, may I have another, please? So yeah, and look, Alabama, I get it, and I'm going to go behind the curtain a little bit, and we don't have the best fans. We don't. We got some
No.
crazy people that follow Alabama. I understand that.
Yep.
I've been an Alabama fan since I can remember. Luckily, I am not one of those. I don't think. You tell me. Not you, Mike. I know you're not going to say that, but if you're on Twitter and you're hearing this, tell me. Okay. I can take a little. I can take a little rib. We're good. But we do have a lot of fans that are crazy. People shooting each other. People, poisoning trees with Harvey Updike. So many years ago. I mean, it happens, and happens more to Alabama fans than most. I am perfectly okay admitting that, but I mean, it is what it is. I can't defend them, but I know there's a lot of good Alabama fans out there too.
Oh yeah.
Herb and Raj, I see you. I know Raj had to leave. Herb, you're enjoying the beach. Roll Tide. But you're going to get haters for everything.
Yep.
I'm sure Vanderbilt has haters. I don't know who they are. Maybe dumb. Maybe dumb people. Since they're the smart guys. I don't know.
Probably the ones that could not get accepted into Vanderbilt.
Or most of the people that have jobs that, the Vanderbilt guys, the owner of the company now, that don't like their job. I hate Vanderbilt because my boss doesn't like me. Who knows?
Did you know Vanderbilt I'm sure they do. Did you know that Vanderbilt used to be a women's college?
I did not. That's actually interesting.
When growing up, my grandfather, my dad's dad, before he passed, he would always have these old time, these old stories, which I enjoyed. He was a Cardinals fan in baseball, got in for 10 cents. I was kind of, and so during, I don't know if that was maybe during his military time where he got to visit, Nashville and all that. But yeah, he said at the one point in time, Vanderbilt was strictly a women's university.
I can see that.
So
they're not much more than that now. So
yep.
Fine. It explains why they're smarter too, because everybody says women are smarter than men, so they had a head start as a women's college, since women are supposed to be smarter than men. There you go. Well, that's why they're the smartest kids in the class now.
I don't know how much politics you talk, but I mean, hey, guys are.
I try not to, but I'm in here. I live in the U.S.
Guys, they're dressing up to be like women. So I mean,
that is very true. That's a good point. It's 2023.
Yeah.
I never thought the song "Dude Looks Like a Lady" would have so much meaning nowadays. Good old Aerosmith song.
Yeah. Pretty sad. Pretty, I didn't realize we would have to go that route. NBA offseason. Really nothing major, I don't think, in my opinion.
I'm sorry, what? Nothing major. Have you seen the Lakers this offseason? Have you seen what they've done?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, nothing major.
Of course, there's plenty of off season.
No, definitely the off season news. What's your thoughts on this playing tournaments during the regular season?
It's just a way to get money.
I don't.
I know I interrupted you. Sorry.
I understand how it works. I'm not arguing the structure of it. I don't get why we have to.
So the model goes from Premier League. Oh, there's somebody.
Herb, Vandy has no haters. That's just evil. No, Herb, there's got to be somebody out there. Herb, I want to have you do one thing for me. You may not have much luck, and that's fine. Google who hates Vanderbilt. I'm just curious.
Nah, that'd be funny.
Oh, he's headed out. Now he's going to the pool.
Hey, I got you, man. Enjoy it. Enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Exactly.
Roll Tide.
No, dude, Herb, I appreciate you chiming in. Enjoy yourself, my man.
But what were we talking about? Crap, I forgot.
Off-season tournament.
Yes.
Regular season tournament.
In-season tournament. It's based off the Premier League because, they all have soccer has in-season tournaments, or football over there, whatever.
Right.
there's in-season tournaments. Even now, the MLS has adopted that with some of the other leagues around North America and in the U.S. They have an in-season tournament where their teams play some of the lower tiered just so they can get the exposure in the practice. Um, Obviously, the NBA being one league and just playing itself is a little different, but that's where I think the model comes from, and they see a lot of success in that overseas. Whether it'll work or not, I mean, it's really only one or two extra games because the rest of them are
Right.
already in season games that they're just going to count towards the Final Four. I think so. I think you're really only talking about playing two extra games. Um, I mean, only time will tell. It's more basketball. You know, if
Hmm.
you're an NBA fan and want to see more basketball, because I know most basketball fans are wanting more right now. I know I saw a tweet the other day going, I already missed the NBA and so on and so forth, and I do because again, every sport doesn't matter.
Hmm.
I watch curling. I mentioned it yesterday. I like curling. We have a group. Um, it's just more to fun. I mean, it puts more into it. And anytime you're going to make it a little bit more competitive, whether the players think it's competitive or not, who knows? Kind of going back to the original point from the beginning of the episode, more competition's better. And I think that's true in just about any facet of it, no matter how you look at it. It's never going to be huge,
Right.
but it's not supposed to be. As long as it brings in the NBA some more money and some more TV revenue, they'll keep doing it. The same reason we've expanded college football. It's not. Come on, it's not for inclusion.
No.
Don't
Mm-mm.
don't don't don't. And nobody out there in YouTube land or Twitter, Facebook, Twitch. I don't remember all your affiliates. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Um, it, don't think for 1 second that they're doing this so Tulane can make a playoff one year. It's not. That's not it. They want more
No.
money. They're going to have more games and
Yep.
more meaningful games when you look down to it. I know some championship games and stuff that won't mean as anything, but you're telling me last year that Alabama, Ohio State in a playoff game wouldn't have drawn more than the Tupelo, Mississippi Poinsettia Bowl, whatever.
Hmm.
Come on now. I mean, it's money, and if the NBA makes money off this, they're going to keep doing it and add to it, just like any other league would and should, because that's their job as commissioners is to make their league money,
Well, of
and that's what
course.
they're going to do.
Speaking of money, um, I was going with this here. I forgot where I
Look,
was going with
squirrel.
that one. I know, right? Squirrel. Um, money, small market. Here we go. Small markets in the NBA. The Oklahoma City Thunder, of course, I know them pretty well, obviously being here in Oklahoma City. What's your thoughts on small markets? Number one, we've seen them succeed for the most part, some better than others. But with Oklahoma City and it being a young team with Shea Gilgis and obviously Chet Holmgren, which hopefully, Lord forbid, he don't play no summer ball against or summer ball against LeBron. But maybe we can stop that. But you got Chet and you got Giddy and Dort and both Williams brothers are practically are same name, different
Yeah,
people. Is Oklahoma City on the right path? I know we mentioned that last night. I know Herbert Raj mentioned that Damian Leonard and Oklahoma City probably shouldn't trade him simply because of the young core, which I would agree. Even though we have 35 picks in the next 7 years, which is
yeah.
pretty. I don't know what you're going to do with them besides probably trade him away. Is Oklahoma City on the right path? Here we go. Long story short, obviously they're not willing to spend. I mean, I should say is they're obviously not spending big time money, but they're willing to keep it holding back to keep this young core intact for the while at least. Is Oklahoma City playing it smart right now, or could you see them potentially keeping these guys around to make a big time splash?
You could. So the problem with keeping it around is you have a salary cap,
Hmm.
and kind of what with them already being on your team. Um, I'm not as well versed in the NBA behind the scenes as Herb and Raj
Right.
are, but I mean, you're allowed to go over your cap as long as you're keeping your guys in house. I know you're allowed to go over the cap for a little bit for those guys and things like that sometimes. But as far as making a big splash, as these guys get better, you know, the NBA money is just getting out there. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You got people like Dylan Brooks making
Hmm.
what $40 million. I mean, that dude got trashed at the end of the season, and I'm not saying he's a bad player,
Yep.
but there is no way 15 years ago that guy would have got that big of a contract. I mean, obviously, I know nobody did, but you know what I'm saying. I mean,
Right.
there people are reaching more for more mid players, so the good players you do have is going to be hard to keep them because you're not going to be able to afford them. Which in a way does help some lower market teams. They don't because they don't have to outbid like baseball does. You don't have to outbid the Yankees and the Dodgers. You've got an off season coming up where you're going to have a bidding war for Otani, as you
Hmm.
should, because that guy is maybe the best baseball player ever.
Which we'll touch on him in here in a second.
But you don't have to worry about that bidding war. There's only so much somebody can offer him.
Yep.
And then then you look at other stuff, whether they want to live there, things like that. So that does go into play. But I think that the salary cap, that's who that helps, is those lower market teams, because you don't have the Lakers or the Celtics or the Heat just saying, okay, Dame, I know you're not happy in Portland. We're going to offer you $50 million to come play for the Lakers. Other schools, who cares? Or schools, other teams, who cares?
Right.
We're going to outbid, and that's it. So it does spread the wealth a little bit, I guess, for lack of a better term, as far as talent, um, to where and that's one of the reasons San Antonio did so well, and then they're still
Hmm.
doing well because they're better than most people, and I would call them a smaller market team. Obviously, they're better at finding younger guys and developing them, and sometimes you get lucky with Victor Wembanyama as the number one pick, who's supposed to be the generational talent. We'll see. But I mean, you look at Tim Duncan, you look at Ginobili, you look at Parker, you look at David Robinson.
Right.
Even go back even
Hmm.
further, they they've learned how to do it. And if you're not looking at their model and trying to follow it, what are you doing?
Hmm.
So it's easier for them to succeed, I guess. To put a long story short, that I've been talking forever. Um, in that situation, it's but Oklahoma City, I think, is going in the right direction. They've got a good, like I said, good core. Like you mentioned, a lot of young guys. Obviously, they could, and you can find good help. Look at the Lakers picking up some of the guys they did when they've already got LeBron, AD.
Hmm.
They had to offer um, Hachimura and Reeves larger contracts, otherwise they were going to leave. But they still, got in and signed some other guys that are going to help out. Some good guys. We had to replace a few people that left. So with the core you got, you should be fine. For to wrap all of it up, I guess.
No, I'm
A long way
excited.
to say you're going to be fine.
Right? No, you're good. No, I think one. I think they'll be fine. It was. I think they overachieved a lot of people's expectations last year, and obviously, I think put the league on notice. Didn't do well in the playing game, but whatever. Um, they weren't really supposed to be in the playoffs anyway, so obviously past that mark. Speaking of real quick before we talk baseball as we start down the home stretch, no pun intended. Um, the Lakers. What went wrong in your opinion? One, being swept by the eventual NBA champion Denver Nuggets, and two, AD obviously being more on the bench with injuries. LeBron here and there. Obviously, his age is starting to get the best of him. I think at times, and at times not so much. Um, where can we see this Laker team at this upcoming season with AD, LeBron? How does that kind of look like? And then as we get Bronny here in the NBA, could we see LeBron play with Bronny anywhere but LA, or kind of what the future looks like in your opinion with the Lakers as they start to get the age starting to kind of show up here, and of course, LeBron's no kid, and AD can't stay healthy.
Yeah, and I think that's partially to answer the first question, what went wrong in the playoffs is they ran into Denver. It was the same thing that
Hmm.
went wrong with everybody.
Right.
Denver just played out of their minds. All four games, swept the Lakers. As much as I hate to say that, I know Herb is mad that he left to not hear me say that because he likes bashing on the Lakers for me and Raj. I mean, AD didn't step up in those big games at the end, and it may. I mean, he may have been hurting, he may have been tired. I don't know. I'm not there. But just those last couple of games, he didn't step up like a superstar on a team should, in most people's opinion, and mine included. You had LeBron that last game, especially on the brink of elimination, given everything he got. We had what 40 points,
Hmm.
and you had AD who just was kind of there. Didn't play bad necessarily, but didn't step up and be that superstar. Um, Now, can he rehab? And we'll see about injuries because he's injured almost every year. It's been the running joke. Who's hurt more, him or Zion? I guess for the past few seasons. But that's one of the reasons you get some of the younger talent and some of the better talent, like re-signing Hachi, re-signing Reeves. Um, and now that I'm live on YouTube, I can't think of the name of the other free agents that I would normally know. Uh, but I mean, I know you replace Beasley, you replace. Now I'm fumbling. You lost a few guys, but you replaced
Right.
them. You lost Schroeder. You still kept Russell.
Hmm.
So you've got some pieces coming back. I think your shooting is improved. Just thinking about the guys who I can't think of their names right now, who they've picked up. I know they got some good shooters. They got another guy down low to replace Bull that left. I think no Bomba. Sorry, Bomba left.
Right.
Um, and so they got the kid to replace him. I like the draft pick. That again, all names are escaping my head for some reason. So this is fun. Need to check and see if I'm walking in my underwear because it seems like a nightmare right now. But
Don't feel bad, dude.
yeah, I mean, I think they're in good position next year. I think they will be just as good, if not better. The good thing is I don't think Denver got any better, so you should still be able to hang with them, if not a little more. You'll have another year with the main core uh, gelling together a little bit more with LeBron, Reeves, D'Lo, Hachimura, and Davis as long as he's healthy. They'll have another year under their belt, so they'll be able to gel a little bit better because they only had a half a season, if that, because they picked up most of those guys at the trade deadline. So I think they'll be just fine. I think they'll be, if not, they definitely will be out of the play-in. So they had to make it through the play-in this year.
Hmm.
I could see them being a 4 or 5, if not better, depending on how quickly they gel and get together.
I could see that. I think the Lakers. I think the Lakers will be fine. I think the biggest piece of the puzzle is Anthony Davis and
Yeah, staying healthy.
has staying healthy. I think is the biggest piece. But I think the Lakers will be definitely fine. And as we head down the home stretch of baseball, and it's been a weird year in baseball. I'm a Yankee fan. Uh, it's been horrible. For the first time since 1990 that oops that the Yankees are. That was weird. I locked myself out of the computer, still recording. That's a first. The first time since 1990 that the Yankees are in one last place at the All Star break, or a little after the All Star break, and the playoff chance now went down to plus 125. So that's obviously not really good.
But hey, look
Um,
at the right side. You may be last place in the East, but your record is still good enough to be first in the Central.
exactly. Yeah,
I saw that graphic on Twitter earlier that the Yankees still have a better record than who is it? The Twins that are in the
the
number one
Twins.
spot.
Yeah, the Yankees 50 and 45, and the Twins are 48 and 47. So I mean, the chances are still there. I mean, obviously, the Yankees. They're 9 back in the AL East. They are right now, as we are recording, 2.5 in the wild cards. I mean, there's still playoff hopes are still there when it comes to wild card. Divisional, they need a lot of help, but you still got some baseball left.
Well,
Um,
Tampa's not going to stay. Tampa's kind of fallen
no.
off too a little bit.
Hmm.
They're going to come back to earth. So yeah, you may not win your division. I think they'll be in the playoffs. I think they'll come through and make a wild card run. Just because I don't trust most of the other teams in their division. I mean,
No.
and
Mm-mm.
who expected Tampa Bay to do what they've done the first part of the season? But so I mean, they'll come back to earth and bottom out like they usually do. They'll probably make the wild card. But I mean, I think the Yankees will end up making a wild card spot. I mean, they're just too good of a team not to. As many good players and everything they've got on there.
No, exactly. I mean, again, it goes back to a team that's been injury prone. Aaron Judge has been out quite a bit. Stanton, I don't think has had a healthy season since he's been in the Bronx. Um, Pitching's been inconsistent, but which leads to obviously your take on the Cardinals 41-53, currently fourth in the Central of the NL,
Yeah,
and 11 games back out of the wild card. They are currently 10.5 of the division. Uh,
yeah.
what's your thoughts on the Cardinals season so far?
It's been disappointing. Obviously, I didn't expect them to be the best team in baseball, but
Right.
especially in a weaker Central Division. It's odd that both Central divisions, American and National League, are the kind of the weakest divisions.
Yep.
Um, I thought they would be better. There's not really anything to it other than I thought they would be better. Obviously, you're replacing one of your greatest players ever in Yadier Molina, and in some ways Pujols, who's my favorite player, but he wasn't the player he was last year as to the rest of his career, so he wasn't as hard to replace. But and I know they've had some issues with at the catcher position to where the guy they picked up, you know, they took him out because he's like, I can't play. They put him out in the field. They tried some other stuff, and it's been inconsistent all the way around. You've had younger guys like Gorman and some of those other guys step up and play really well, but it's there hasn't been anything consistent enough to make headway in it for a team that I thought would be in a wild card spot, if nothing else, if not winning that division. Kind of the same thing. Winning that division and wild card may be the same record, in both leagues at this point. But I thought they would be a lot better, and it's just disappointing season.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at baseball, and of course, baseball's a long season. I get that, and yeah, it goes through hot spurts. You got Tampa started off hot in the beginning. Boston was cold; that was starting to get hot. You look at the NL, the Cincinnati Reds is playing some good baseball as of lately.
And I'll tell you, I'll stop you there. That the Dela Cruz kid from
Hmm.
Cincy, the story of anything. I know I talked about
Yep.
Shohei Ohtani being the best player in baseball, but that kid, he's fun to watch.
No, he
Um,
is. Hmm.
and he's been one of the highlights. I don't follow baseball as much as some other sports, just because there's so much of it to consume.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but I mean, every time I see that kid on TV, I stop. And there's only two or three players in baseball that make you do that. Aaron Judge being one of them.
Yep.
Shohei Ohtani and this kid are probably the top three. Eye catchers, I guess would be the best way to put it. But then that's the only reason that the Reds are up there like that. Nobody expected that from them with him stepping up and just being the freak athlete and you know best baseball player on the team kind of thing that he is. So one good positive there is
Yep.
not for me, but just in baseball in general is that kid's a star.
No, absolutely. And a good friend of mine, he went up to he's a big time Cincinnati Reds fan. But able to watch him in person. Practically he is what we see on TV, and which leads to, as we wrap up, Shohei and Otani, free agent this year after the 23 season. Obviously the biggest free agent name, I'm sure, if ever, in the history of MLB, will be the biggest market and the player. We're looking. He's making 30 mil this year. Of course, that was to avoid arbitration from last.
Yeah,
Where numbers wise, could we see? I can't remember. We're going. We're talking. This guy's going to be getting paid. What
yeah.
what number range do you think this guy could easily? I mean, I think what was Mike Trout 400 and mil, 400 mil, 426. I can't remember exactly the numbers for him.
It's ridiculous.
Could he
Uh,
pass that half a billion mark for Otani?
if he wants, I mean, he can name his price. What other player in the history of major leagues can say, "Hey, I'm going to go pitch a 9 inning 1 run game, and then oh by the way, I'm also going to go 3 for 4, hit a home run, and have 4 RBIs."
Mm-hmm.
That's it's something that has never been done on that level. And I know we hate talking about oh, that's the greatest player ever. I mean, what he does to me he will go down if he keeps going to what he's doing. If he falls off a cliff, he does. But
Right.
if he keeps doing what he's doing, he'll be the greatest player in the history of Major League Baseball. I mean, because there's never, you talk about Babe Ruth back in the day who would pitch and hit and pitch and
Yep.
hit, and then that kind of went away. Even though you had more pitchers hitting, now pitchers aren't even supposed to hit because they've got the DH rule all over now. But for him to be able to take out two roster spots, he should get paid twice as much
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have to go pay a pitcher and a hitter. You don't have to pay Aaron Judge and I'll say Adam Wainwright because he's our best pitcher. Just
Right.
you don't have to pay a top-notch pitcher and a top-notch hitter because you have all that in one. And obviously, he's not going to get paid twice as much as the best player because that would just I say that, but that would be crazy. But he should definitely be able to demand the highest contract in the history of baseball,
Oh, absolutely.
without question, and deserves it because again, he's an ace pitcher,
Mm-hmm.
Cy Young contender. He's a Silver Slugger contender. He's a home run leader in the league almost every year. We've never seen anybody do what he does, and he deserves to get paid that way. And there's really only two, three teams that can pay him: the
Oh
Yankees,
yeah.
the Dodgers, maybe.
Do you think
So
the
maybe
Mets could be a team?
I mean, they could, but it's have they ever ponied up for anybody else before?
True.
You look at the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Dodgers, maybe the Giants because the Giants have jumped in with a few big contracts, big guys here recently, but not all teams want to go in and give that max deal no matter how good he is. So you're really only looking at three or four teams. I personally think it'll end up in LA at the Dodgers,
Mm-hmm.
just because if apples to apples, the Yankees and the Dodgers offer him the same amount of money. He already lives in LA. It's easier. He already knows the culture. There's more of an Asian culture out there just because they're
Mm-hmm.
on the West Coast, so he's probably more comfortable culturally there. I'm sure New York has a lot of Asian descent as well, but it can't compare, I'm sure. But everything else being equal, I don't know why he wouldn't stay on that West Coast and just take that Dodger money. Or, I mean, hell, if the Angels decide to, okay, we're already paying Mike Trout, let's pay him too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll happen because you have to have more money than Ted Turner used to back in the day. But
Otani's going to be. I'm really going to keep my eye on that bidding war. It's going to be obviously historic. I still think. I don't see him taking a cut. I don't see him taking a cut anywhere. Anywhere unless that's what he wants to do, which I don't see that happening. But he could.
I wouldn't say at this point in his career he doesn't.
No.
I don't see him as like a hometown discount for the Angels. I don't see
No.
that happening. And of course, I don't know the kid, but I don't see anywhere in the U.S. where he'd be like, I really want to live in Miami,
No.
so I'll take less to go play for the Marlins, or or Philadelphia, or somewhere like that. That I don't see anything like that where he's not tied down to like a hometown, where other than the Angels, which are right there with the Dodgers anyway. So why not didn't have the best of both worlds?
Wherever he ends up playing, regardless if it's the Angels, the Yankees, the Dodgers, anybody else that wants to put a name in, they're gonna get the one. First of all, they're gonna get a heck of a player, and number two, more important, they're gonna be paying this dude some money.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he stays in the
Oh,
American League just
yeah.
because I don't want to see him as much with my Cardinals. If he goes to the Dodgers, that's what 5, 6, 7, 8 more games that
Mm-hmm.
we may have to play against him, even though they're in another division. And then you got to
Yep.
see him before the World Series and the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. He can stay in the American League. Go to the Yankees. Come, George.
On that one, we're gonna end on that because I like the Yankees, and hopefully we will get them. Not saying we will, but you never know. Mike, it was fun. This was a lot of fun having you on.
It was. I had a blast. Thank you for having me on here. I know. I just noticed. It's like I said, it's my first live podcast. I just noticed a little timer up there. It says how long we've been on, an hour and 45 minutes. Crap! I don't think it was supposed to be that long, but I had fun. I talk a lot, so I apologize for that.
No, you're good.
But I mean, it's been a blast, and I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, anytime I've actually done a show once. It was an over a 2-hour show. Wasn't supposed to go that long. just how that ends. But sometimes I always say you gotta, when you can't stop having fun. So no, I enjoyed a great conversation, but no, you're welcome back anytime, Mike. And I know enjoy your SEC Media Day week for you, and keep on keeping on the best conference. And next year's Media Day will be a little bit better. You get to see OU
Well,
and our
especially if I get a media pass and get down there. Heck yeah,
exactly, that'd
we'll
be
have a lot of
cool.
fun.
You never know what may happen. That's my goal of mine next year is to get those. But guys, you've been listening to the Air Raid Attack podcast. Find us on Twitter at Air Raid Podcast, YouTube Air Raid Attack Podcast. Simply just look for us, and Facebook as well. Mike, where can the listeners find you out on your socials?
I'm pretty much either at underscore Big Mike or just underscore Big Mike. I think that's an at. When I try to do my little screen, it doesn't look like the normal at symbol. Just so they can see that. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. Now that that's a thing, I'm on there too. So just follow me. I love talking sports. Anybody that wants to talk, I'll pretty much talk to anybody, as you found out during this episode. I don't shut up sometimes. So yeah, just hit me up. I appreciate it.
There you go, folks. And reminder on Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Central, the Red River Rivalry goes podcast for the first time in air raid history, which I don't really keep stats on that. But the host of the Laced Up podcast from Austin, Texas, the very own Miss Lacey, will be on. We'll be talking OU Texas, and that's going to be a doozy. And get her thoughts on the 23 season and their trip to Tuscaloosa before their final, their well, pre was last year, the pre SEC now at this point. But Mike,
Their
have a
SEC
good
preview.
yeah. We will definitely get her on, and it's going to be a fun one as well. As until then, until Thursday night, guys, take care, enjoy yourselves. Podcast dropping tomorrow, Wednesday, or wherever you get your podcast from. Listen to us on Pandora, and have a great rest of your morning, day, afternoon, evening, week, whatever that may look for you when you're listening. Take care, guys.